everyone, to episode 31 of the World Stone Keep. It's been quite a while since we've done a show. I was actually vacationing in Yellowstone for about a week and a half. Now I'm back and sick, of course, conveniently. Yes, I got sick. I got a cold about two days ago before we were set to record the show, so I apologize in advance for my stuffy nose voice. I am Joe, and with me on the show are Jordan, Ken, and Dan. And to introduce everyone, we've got a random question, completely random. Did not think of this before the show at all, or talk about it. What was the last movie you guys watched? So, somebody, take it away.
Cowboys and Aliens.
That was Jordan, of course. Say your name, please.
I am now named. Yeah, it was actually pretty entertaining. I mean, it didn't really have so much in the way of, mystery as far as that's concerned, but definitely an entertaining watch.
I'm Dan, and the last movie I saw was Another Earth. It was excellent. Everybody should go see it.
Documentary?
Science fiction, actually.
Never heard of it.
It's a lot like sort of early 70s science fiction, where the sci-fi aspect is really just a backdrop for drama and social commentary. So, very, very good. Everyone should go see it.
I'll check that out.
Very smart movie.
I don't like thinking when I go to movies. It upsets me.
So am I to take it the last movie you saw was directed by Michael Bay?
I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, how was that?
It was enjoyable.
Is that a new one?
Yeah.
A new Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, it serves as a kind of a prequel to the original ones. There was some debate over that, but
since the original involves time travel, there's.
That's where the debate came in. I don't know. I don't really care because I'm not like an avid Planet of the Apes person. I don't really care. It was entertaining. It was kind of neat. It was nice seeing what they could do with better technology than people in costumes.
I love those people in costumes. Those rubber monkey suits.
Rubber monkey suits, yeah.
Rubber monkey suits.
That was fun.
What?
And it was cool because, as a psychologist, I knew some of the things that were happening to the main ape guy, monkey, whatever it was, chimpanzee.
Caesar.
It was Caesar, yeah. Caesar was getting smarter. There was a very distinct moment where he was standing in front of a mirror and he started poking at a scar he had, which is basically the purpose of it was showing that he was self-aware, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, there are actually only a handful of animals that do that. One of them being dolphins and elephants and whatnot.
Yeah, even baby humans don't do that.
Yeah.
Baby humans are dumb. Now we're talking about theater movies.
We're born useless.
Or movies we just watched in general.
I'd say in general. If you saw something on video, that counts.
Well, alright. I just watched Spaceballs then, before the show. Well, I didn't actually finish it. I got about a half an hour left on it. Which I'm going to finish after the show.
Good.
And before that,
Merchandising.
I watched Tangled. They got that on Netflix streaming.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Always love a good Disney flick.
That one's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It looked pretty good.
That horse just makes me so happy.
That horse is awesome. Anyway, let's get on to some Diablo 3 nonsense. There's everybody introduced. Joe, Jordan, Ken, and Dan. And so, we're going to skip our usual show this week. We're just going to do news and community feedback. So, I'm going to hand it over to Ken. Ken, what's the biggest bit of news we got this week?
The biggest bit of news is kind of a confirmation on what we received with the newsletter announcement on the beta, what's going to happen in there. One of the guys said that it'll be up to the game's hardest difficulties, Hell and Inferno, to challenge the most awesome of players.
What?
Yeah, so there was big speculation on what did that mean? What did Inferno mean? What is this? Did they just get rid of Nightmare and go normal Hell Inferno? What's going on? But me being, the genius that I am, knew it was a fourth difficulty, which has now been confirmed at the Gamescom. So,
But 4 difficulties, that's heresy.
I know. What are we going to do with a fourth difficulty? So, basically, just to start things off with it, Inferno difficulty is for maxed leveled characters only. You can only access it at level 60.
Zero.
And all of the monsters in there will start at least level 61. So they will always be hard. Whereas in Diablo 2, the monsters, the highest level they ever reached was 85. So there was a point that they were kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Which actually, I don't know. For me, they started becoming irrelevant around level 70. But anyway, so Inferno, yeah, it's going to be a harder difficulty. It's going to have exclusive loot that only drops in Inferno. It's going to have exclusive, like the highest level runes only. You can only get them in Inferno kind of deal. And yeah, one of the biggest things that they're making it is that the loot table is kind of even across the board, across all acts, across all monsters. So you're encouraged to just play through the game or go to your favorite areas. You don't have to specifically choose an area and run that area over and over and over. You can get the best loot, best Inferno loot in the first area if you so desire.
I mean,
Rad.
I don't have to subject myself to Nilothak's temple just because it has the highest occurrence of unique spawns in the game.
Yeah.
No.
I don't even think Neil Fox is gonna be in Diablo 3.
Let's hope
No,
not.
he's dead.
Well, I mean, he did kind of keep getting back up, so it's
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to say.
So, opinions about this? I mean, this one's a big one.
Yep.
People seem to be sort of divided about it. Probably less divided than some of the other things that have come up. Cough, cough, RMA.
Real money auction house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I've wanted a fourth difficulty since the first one.
Heck yeah.
It's friggin' awesome. I'm down with it.
Now,
Yeah.
how hard do you think it's going to be? I know that this is basically guesswork at this point, but
See, and difficulty is always subjective too. So, I mean, for me, it's going to be, super easy. But I don't know. For someone like you, it's going to be impossible. So you might want to stick to hell.
are you sure? I mean, I think I can get through Nightmare, but yeah.
Might be able to do that.
Realistically speaking, with that flat level system all throughout the entire game, as it were, with the fourth difficulty, you can imagine that it would be more difficult for your particular class, depending on the area, and the randomization effect, of course, with all the the champions and whatnot having different stats and all that kind of stuff.
Now, I'm getting the impression that with this, because if you look at the people who are going to be playing Diablo 3, well over 50% of the total player base is going to drop out by the end of Nightmare. So I think with Inferno, they're really just going to go, balls to the walls with it, and probably, you will have to do at least some hell farming before you can progress through Inferno at anything other than a crawl.
Right.
It's going to be lonely at the top, Ken.
I'm used to it. I live a very lonely life.
Oh,
QQ.
sad music, please.
Of course, now that's only really going to carry for the first little bit, and then, once the game has matured a bit, it's probably going to become fairly routine. You hit a point, you get a certain level of gear, and then it's like, oh yeah, then you just sort of go into Inferno and work on gear perfection. But I mean, that's inevitable.
Right, because they'll have gear-specific drops just for Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
And other difficulties too, normal, Nightmare, and Hell.
It'll be really cool seeing someone run around in the Inferno gear. You're like, oh, I want that.
You mean seeing Ken run around with Inferno gear, right, Ken?
Yeah, well, basically, yeah.
See, now here's a thing with it, because drops are sort of constrained by level, but there's no, even with the Inferno gear, there's just sort of the loose level requirements with it. So you can use one character who's good in Inferno to farm out, gear for other characters. So like Jordan was saying, certain areas and maybe even, large quantities of it will be harder for certain classes, especially certain builds,
Right.
Than other ones. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out once we've got our hands on it and we can actually go and bash our heads against it, see what the community figures out. There was a lot of talk on the forums about path of least resistance.
Uh-huh.
And, it'll be fun to see what that path of least resistance ends up being.
Right, because they said their goal was to make the entire playthrough the path of least resistance for getting whatever items you want, and not just a chunk of the game, like farming a specific boss or something like that.
Yeah, or at least have it be close enough that it's like, oh well, it's a minute less time to do Act 2 than it is to do Act 1. So it's like, well, technically Act 2 is faster, but who cares at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, make it as imperceivable as possible. If it's that close, how would you even tell?
Now, a good suggestion that a bunch of people have been coming up with this, and one that I think is a really good idea, and I hope they do, is sort of random bosses that are in the out of the way places. So Inferno specific random quests and random events.
I like that
Yeah,
idea.
I'm all down for it.
I like it a lot.
More things to kill. I'm always up for it.
Yeah, more things to kill, and it keeps an element of adventuring in the gear grind. I mean, it is going to become a grind, and those who stick with it to that point don't mind the grind. I mean, if you minded the grind, you would have quit long before you got to you got anywhere into Inferno. But I don't think we should sacrifice all of an element of exploration and adventure with that. And so I think a little bit of randomization in there would help keep that element.
Definitely. I have an interesting question. How would you guys feel about Inferno specific items not being allowed on the auction house, so that it's really just the best of the best that can obtain them, and you actually have to play for them? You can't just come in and buy them.
So now you were saying in the sense that they would still be tradable, like you could send them to other characters, you could trade them in person to someone else, but you just couldn't drop them on the auction house?
Sure, let's go with that.
Interesting take on it. It would, oh wow, well,
I think primarily it wouldn't make a difference if you've got a tight-knit group that you play with. If you're playing it more or less solo and using the auction house as a buffer, then it would be pretty detrimental to you as far as what you could do with it.
I don't like it, and I'll just say why. Like, if I'm already in Inferno, I want to be able to, get Inferno gear from other people in an easier fashion than having to, like, actually manually find them myself and go into a game and trade with them. Like, if there was, like, if that's the route that they wanted, my suggestion would be that you can't buy Inferno gear unless you've unlocked Inferno.
But unlocking Inferno just means... Unlocking Inferno doesn't necessarily mean you're doing well in Inferno, so
that's fine. You don't need to do well in Inferno
in the same way that you
Inferno gear.
The hardcore rule in the old game.
It's more the sense, Ken, what I'm thinking there is more the sense that if the goal behind limiting the sale of Inferno gear is prestige, then if the only requirement is unlocking Inferno, the whole prestige reason for limitation is completely undermined. So why have it? Why have it anyway?
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd like, if that was the case, I'd rather undermine it than have to go back to Diablo 2's trading system to find.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think if you're going to undermine, I don't think there should be that kind of a restriction on it for those reasons. And largely because, I like Jordan's reasoning is that what if you just get screwed with drops? Like, you're doing well in Inferno, but you're not getting good drops for your character.
Yeah, and that was
exactly.
the whole reason for the supplementation with having vendors that you can upgrade things or make things or essentially have a way out other than being completely at the mercy of randomization.
Mm-hmm.
So how well that plays into Inferno, I don't know. I mean, I imagine they extend their usefulness all the way through, but probably not going to be able to get the best gear out of it. Just enough to get you strong enough to find the best gear, is what I would imagine.
Well, they have said that some of the best gear will be crafted.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder how much work it would take to achieve that kind of recipe, as it were. And also, in addition to that, we know that the build specifications are dependent on a variety of different items. So uniques aren't going to be the best this go around. Rares aren't going to be the absolute best this go around. It will depend entirely on your build, and you'll probably have to mix and match. And we also know that uniques carry specific affixes or prefixes, whatever, that don't occur on rares.
affixes.
Right.
Apexes.
So with that thought in mind, even if you could find some really awesome items from crafting, you probably only get maybe half at best, I would imagine.
So no, that's actually another bit of news that we just heard recently was the whole affix thing with legendaries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Legendaries are the orange ones. They're going to be part of sets.
Yep. So there will be certain legendary items which have special affixes that you won't find on other items. So I don't know. I couldn't think of something. Maybe like increased mana pool or increased resource size isn't like an actual affix, but there will be like legendary gloves that have that.
Now
which
they've
also
been
make like that really opens it up to like maybe this type of wizard really wants that, but another type of wizard doesn't. So really seeing there being like a special legendary affix that is really good for a particular build.
Right.
And we got a little glimpse at a couple of the crazier, like they're doing some really far out stuff with the kind of stats and affixes that can end up on gear, like restores health when you gain rage.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Life Leech, but in a completely different mechanized way.
Interesting. I didn't see that. Where was that at?
It was in one of Bashiok's mini posts here recently,
Okay.
on that chain thread that was about affixes.
Armor of Lucian, that showed up.
Yeah.
That is going to be legendary, part of a set, I would imagine. Legendary chest armor.
For those who don't remember, Lucian is a character from the books that never actually made it into the games because, well, he was killed long before. Well, not technically killed, but basically son of Mephisto, brother of Lilith, and all that.
Oh, right.
And we can find his armor.
Pretty snazzy.
And unfortunately, there was a bunch of haters who were complaining about the name. They're like, Armor of Lucian, that sounds boring.
Wasn't he in that one movie
Yeah,
with vampires and werewolves?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, that guy was pro. What are you talking about? He totally knocked up a vampire as a werewolf. That's sweet.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Twilight.
This made the show a lot more priceless. I'm just gonna throw it.
Oh. But so they've, with the affixes in general, they want to do some really crazy stuff with it. They've got a lot planned. They want to have this. They've got a whole bunch that they're going to make sure are in the game from launch, and then they've got a giant pile of other ones that they're like, oh yeah, we're going to patch in more. Like as time goes on, we're just going to throw more in, like double the number.
Yeah, and they say they want to do that with a lot of things, like other endgame content. Right now, Inferno is kind of their thing for when they have Diablo 3 released. That's like what they're going to roll out with. And then they have other ideas, which they're not going into, of other endgame content that they want to release in further patches and whatnot. Which is exciting!
I mean, to some degree, it's not really so much news because historically this is what happens, especially by the time you hit, the time frame of releasing an expansion. Just think of how much Diablo 2 changed after the expansion, how much content was added, etc., etc. The main thing that I would really like to see that definitely progresses beyond what Diablo 2 ever did was, again, the in-game content. A lot of the stuff that arrived in Diablo 2 after the fact, after the expansions, etc., felt kind of tacked on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying with that.
So, here's hoping, but for those of you who remember the original concept art, what I'm really hoping for in the expansion would be Uray, the lost city that was in one of the books.
Right, that giant castle attached to the mountain.
Right, exactly.
So next on the list, Ken, what's next on the list?
No way, nothing. It's over.
It's all Inferno.
Yeah, no. Well, it's just a bunch of little tidbits. Basically, the new D3 forums are coming.
Right, before beta even.
Yep, before the beta, which is going to be nice. Now, to get on them, you're going to need a StarCraft 2 or a World of Warcraft attached to your account to post on them, and the only reason is because it's with the new interface. You need one of their Battle.net 2 games to be posting on Battle.net 2 forums, and since Diablo 3 doesn't have any keys associated to it, you'll need one of those. You will not be able to, if you're in the beta, you won't be able to use that because that's a small number of people. However, they will keep the old D3 forums open until Diablo 3 launches.
Right.
Yay!
Yay!
It may be a cesspool, but it's our cesspool.
I mean, who would forget all the fun faces we've run across in the forums, right?
Who could?
Who are you people? Where did you come from? I don't know any of you.
And before beta, new forums means beta's going to be out by September 30th. Sometime before then.
Beta.
August is unlikely, but September is more likely. So look forward to that. Oh, and speaking of beta...
So I say we should begin some rampant speculation.
One second.
I'm going to pull...
Have to remind everybody to update your beta profiles. They did some new nonsense where you now have to update your profile to get into beta, so make sure you do that.
They added a check for your connection speed.
Yes. So go do that, otherwise no beta for you.
Dun, dun, dun.
And even if you do that, probably still no beta for you.
Oh.
The odds are against you.
So anyways, continue, Dan.
I think we should go with some rampant speculation, so I'm going to say September 17th as a number that I just pulled out of nowhere because I'm looking at the number 17 on my screen.
September 17th.
Yes.
Jordan, what's your random speculation day?
I've known Blizzard games since Warcraft 2, so I'm going to say September 29th.
29. I see what you did there.
It came out before the end of September.
Oh, man. Ken, what happened to Ken?
He had to go make a phone call.
Oh. Whoop! There we go. Just read that. I'm going to say September 13th because it's the day after my birthday, and that would be awesome.
Good enough reason.
I didn't say my birthday because my family wants to see me on my birthday for some reason, so...
Oh, why would they want to do that? It's so selfish.
I know, right? So, make it the day after my birthday, and I'll be happy.
So the timeline for the next little bit, before the end of August, probably not much in the next 2 weeks in terms of new news. We'll likely get a small trickle of confirmations and Bashiok, calling us noobs, doing his thing. Sometime in September, or probably early mid-September, we will get the new forums, and that'll be something fun to talk about and
Yes.
complain about. And then we'll get the beta in mid to late September, and that will be something new to talk about and complain about. And then BlizzCon in October.
BlizzCon!
Woo!
Which beta will be out by then?
Beta will be out by then. So we will have beta, well, maybe not us, but there will be beta before BlizzCon. Hopefully us.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Lost them
Let's see
all.
what else we got on this news here list. Windforce is back. It was some foreign site interview. I stole this from INC Gamers. But somebody asked Jay if any items from Diablo 1 will be back, and he said there is one returning, and it is Windforce. The only one, I believe.
Oh, no grandfather.
Nope, I don't.
Well, I will stop using it as an example then.
That's a
You
shame.
can now use it as Windforce.
Yeah.
Although I really did like... I never really got into the range classes as much, but I really love the name Windforce. I love seeing that item.
Force. That's a good bow. Nice, trustworthy bow.
Now, we did get a bit more clarification over the last couple weeks about the rune system as well as the skill system, and I'm just sort of more clarification on how it works. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to run through this with the skill system. You start off with one slot but two skills unlocked. So you've got one
yes.
action. We've got one action slot, but two skills.
No, you start out with 2 slots.
Or 2 slots and
2 skills.
2 skills. Okay.
Right. And then
start
the
off
next...
with 2 slots, 2 skills.
Yep. And the third
then,
slot you unlock at either, I think it's level 10. I think it's level 10 or level 7. Pretty sure it's 10.
I think, yeah, slots unlock at kind of haphazard, odd levels.
Yeah.
I think. And then you've got all 6 unlocked by mid-20s. And then skills unlock in tiers, but you get one basically every single level.
Yep.
So if there's 4 level 1s, you'll have them all unlocked by, whenever.
Or when I was playing it, kind of every time I leveled up, got a new skill. And I didn't really see any doubles. And by doubles, I mean, 2 skills unlocking at level 15 or something like that. There's kind of one skill for every level, which was cool. I would level up and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to test out this new skill here.
Now, would it give you, like, a point? And you got to pick from, like, okay, anything below tier 3,
Nope.
You can unlock, you can choose. Or would it give you a skill? Like, so you unlock Charged Bolt at level 7.
Yeah, it would just unlock a skill. It was like you open up your skill window, you have your 6 slots in a list, and then your 3 passive slots at the bottom. And then your 2 active ones, you would click on that, and then it would open up a big, huge list of all the skills you have, or could have. And so when you unlock a new one, you click on an active skill slot, and it'll open your list, and it'll show you which ones you have available to you that you can switch out, and which ones you don't have yet, and when they have.
So now that's interesting, is that, so the tiers are basically gone.
Right. Yeah, it's just a big list.
So it now trickles the skills to you in an ordered. Every wizard will get Charged Bolt at the same level.
Correct.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Interesting. Odd is my first thought. However, I know that's the kind of thing that will be irrelevant by level 30.
Right. There are some interesting points to make with it, though. And that is, it takes the choice kind of out of the player's hand with letting him choose.
In terms of when you want what.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I remember specifically when I played the Monk, it gave me like a stunning skill and a 3-strike combo skill. And so what ended up happening is I would never use the stunning skill because at level 1, you can just pretty much wipe the floor with everything. There's no real challenge when you're that low level. It's just, leveling up and getting new skills. So my
you
stunning
don't need
skill,
control.
Yeah, you don't need that kind of dynamic skill at all when you're that low of level. You just kind of blow through everything. And then the next one I unlocked with him was like Wave of the Heavens or something like that, which was a healing spell, which again at that low level still don't need it. So that's one thing that kind of sucked about it, is it takes my choice out of the thing and being like, okay, I want to go mainly offensive at lower levels because nothing's going to be a real big challenge for me. I don't have to think about the fight very much. I can just kind of blow through it.
Yeah, I can understand the idea behind it having just kind of a very simplistic, intuitive system that allows you to try everything as you're going through the beginning stages.
Yeah.
So that anyone that joins, just started playing, they can figure everything out, generally without being rushed or trying to figure everything out at once. They're like, oh, I've got a new skill. I'll play with this until, I'm level 15, and then I'll play with this new skill.
Right.
And sort of, yeah, I think that's where the good aspects of it comes from, is that, someone, and actually it'll probably do a lot for the hard, quote unquote hardcore gamers, just because it's like, oh, well, we've predetermined what we think we want to use. But when they say, hey, hold off, yeah, you're going to have to wait 2 more levels before you get that one. It's like, oh, well, I guess I might as well dick around with this one. I mean, I've got 4 slots.
Yeah.
Nice.
Might as well. So if you've got Stunning Palm, which is a skill that you may not have otherwise taken until, into your 20s.
Right.
But you've got it at low levels, might as well play with it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I was just kind of still stuck in that Diablo 2 mentality of, picking one skill and having that be my bread and butter. I found myself doing that even at like the higher levels with the Demon Hunter. I would only use traps because that was my most effective skill. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, I should give these other spells a whirl. And so I started trying, dodge combinations with attack combinations and all kinds of sorts of stuff. And it was pretty fun. But, the most effective one was just using my traps the whole time.
I found with the Assassin and D2, those blade traps you can shoot out are super effective through normal mode, but once you hit about Act 5, they become completely worthless. It's the strangest thing. You're just like, all of a sudden you just hit this concrete wall, and you're dead unless you can respec.
Now, the other thing was the runes, and at Gamescom, they got a little preview of the current state of the rune system, which did have a bit of the more itemized aspect to it, but it looks like where they're gonna, it looks like at present they're sticking with a rune is an indigo rune, so you'll see an indigo rune drop, but they have affixes rather than it does look like they're not necessarily going to go with the blank rune. Okay. Like, what is it? You don't find out till you slot it. So it would be a level 2 indigo rune of the blah blah blah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about what I figured it would be, simply because, again, there was a lot of aversion to the blank system, but still, I think a lot of people were intrigued by the stat idea.
Yeah, and the problem I had with the blank system was they announced it as hey, this is going to make it easier to understand. And I'm like, I'm a smart guy, and it took me forever to unravel. Like, okay, so wait, what happened? So I was like, yeah, just adding affixes to runes, I think like that's fine by me. But I think a rune, like the color of the rune, should be intrinsic.
I just want to know if one of the affixes can be golden, because I would like to have a golden
rune.
Golden.
That's all I want. That's the only thing I want.
You can make your solid gold character. It's like, all I use is goldens.
Yeah, goldens.
And I only take golden armor. Only golden die.
So these runes, when you find them, is it going to be skill specific, or is it going to be you can switch it into any skill you want?
They were not skill specific at Gamescom. They were it was what we are used to, in the sense it's like indigo rune of the blank.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a suffix?
Suffixes and prefixes are both affixes.
Oh, we went with affix, right.
these fixes.
Yeah.
We got any other news? Not a lot happened since I was gone. It was just like a lot of forum complaining. I'm kind of glad I left when I did because I was browsing the forums before I left, and holy crap, dude. No thank you. I was getting so frustrated at like everything. I was like, okay, I have to stop looking at these.
The auction house has been fairly divisive.
Yeah.
It looks like more people are for it than against it, but
Yeah, we had a poll on our
it's
site.
not like a majority vote kind of deal.
Yeah.
50% were for.
It's more that the group that's against it is very vocal. It's not that there are that many of them. It's just that they're very vocal.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I've trolled through it, not in the internet term trolled, in the fishing term. I've trawled, I've browsed through the concerns, and there is one concern in there that I've read and gone, okay, fair point, and it's the unintended side effect to the social fabric of people saying getting loot and then asking themselves, well, should I use this or should I sell it for cash? And I'm like, so that's one that I think we won't know until we see what happens when we've got tens of thousands of players playing the game.
Right. Because what if it's only worth like $2? Are you gonna be like, I'm gonna use this badass item, or I'm gonna sell it for $2? It's gonna be like,
yeah,
I'd rather use it.
See, but there's also, I mean, that would honestly, if you're coming to that point, you're either immaturely hurting yourself. Did I say immature? I meant premature. If I said, yeah. Anyway, prematurely hurting yourself, as you're actually, there should be a third question, or do I need to get this for gold? Because you're gonna need a lot of flipping gold in that game.
I think more than people realize.
So there's going to be a point in the game, obviously, where you're eventually you're going to be like, well, I have enough gold for everything, like I'm done, I've owned Inferno. Then, at that point, yeah, if you're asking, should I just keep this or whatever, get rid of it for money, yeah. But
where I
like
found
early
it to be
on, if you're selling for money, I don't know. I mean, that'd be a tough decision for me.
Where I found it to be a valid point was just the observation that at this point, like once you're introducing cash into the equation, you are now placing your Diablo 3 activity not in comparison to your other Diablo 3 activity. So it's not just, well, do I auction it or do I use it? It's, I could buy myself lunch.
I could go for a cheeseburger right now.
Nice.
It's that now your Diablo 3 activity is potentially being compared to every other aspect of your life because there's that membrane for things to pass through now. It was I thought a valid concern. However, that said, I do think that the vast majority of players aren't going to think in those terms because people are really bad at thinking in terms of wider spectrum economics, which is why credit cards are such a lucrative industry.
I'm going to save this gear. This gear is going to be my backup rent fund. If I need rent for a month, I'm going to sell all this gear really quick in order to pay my bills.
Yeah, the number of people who are able to think in those terms are not too many. So I don't think it'll be as damaging to the social fabric as it's being made to sound, but I do think it's an interesting observation.
That's how I feel with a lot of the points that are being made about it. It's like, the system isn't even out yet. We don't even know what's going to happen with it. Just chill out until it does. Please. Because everything right now is pure speculation.
And at the end of the day, one of the major things to consider, and you know, sort of the cheeseburger aspect of it, is that what are people going to sell gear for? Well, what are they going to be willing to buy gear for? If the prices all end up being around, okay, well, a rare is $1.50, then the relevance of that question, do I use or do I sell, really goes down because now you're dealing with volumes of money that are so low they're not consequential. It's it's not an amount of money that people think about.
Right.
Funny thing about rares in this game is going to be the way that it was in Diablo 2 original, is that when you see a rare drop, that thing is a lotto ticket.
Yep.
Because realistically, it could be $1.50 because it has, very poor stats, or it could have really high stats and very intuitively put together stats all at the same time and just be worth a lot. More than any unique, perhaps, just based on how well designed is this? Out of all the random stats it possibly could have, what does this one have?
Right. Yep. Because
Not all wind forces are born equal.
Well, wind forces will be because they'll be the legendaries, but rares,
yeah, and
rares are the completely randomized ones.
True. So I guess all wind forces will be useful, just some will be better than others.
Yeah. They'll all have a set amount of stats, and then those stats will be kind of random numbers, random percentages. Whereas rares, on the other hand, completely random, everything.
Yep.
And they're green. Such a pretty green. Those will stick out like a sore thumb. No more of that headache of green. Gold and slightly more gold.
Oh, I hated that so much. It's like, yeah, I got a good item.
Unique.
Oh,
it's
no,
a rare?
Or worse, it's like, yay, I got a rare. Oh, it's a unique that's like level 5 because the item budget is so overblown.
Yeah.
Just because it's unique.
Oh, man. Good old days. Alrighty. Is that all the news we got? We ready to move on to some community feedback?
Feedback.
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty, our first bit comes from Ramen Man on the blog. So, which crest, not character, do you guys like the best of those 5 class crests we got from the media event?
That's a good question.
I need to go look at them again.
Yeah, let me do the same.
I'll send you guys a link in a short second here. Mine would probably be the Demon Hunter. It's pretty awesome. There's the link. Followed closely by the Witch Doctor. I think those two are my favorite out of all of them.
I really like them. Oh, they're all pretty cool.
Yeah, they are.
The Demon Hunter is the one that sort of catches my eye first, but the longer I look at it, I really like the monks in how it's so unified with how the class art looks.
Right.
But they all are. Like,
I don't get what's going on with the monk. What is that, like yin, yang, and wang? Like what?
Nice.
Adding like a third thing to that.
It's called a Triskelion.
It's a thing. It doesn't know what it thinks it is.
It's a Triskelion.
That thing there, that's what happens when you're worshipping too many gods. 1001. You let me know if you can actually name all of them, okay?
Dear Mr. President, there are too many states. Please eliminate 3. There are too many gods. Please cut 7.
Are you kidding me? 1001? I bet you cut 1,000 of them, at least. I don't know. I like the globe, the orb in the wizard one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually really drawn to the wizard one also.
It's got like scrolls at the bottom. Barbarian one just reminds me of orcs because it's got.
Oh, that's true.
Here was a neat little tidbit that came out of Gamescom was your stat regen rate is on your, or not your stat regen, your energy resource regen rate is on your character sheet. And so apparently the wizard starts at like 780%.
What?
Wow.
So it's like 780 arcane power per minute.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it regens super fast, but also like disappears just as fast.
Yeah.
Eat that, Warcraft mages.
That's how they got the whole like volatile feeling of like it's just like you can blow it up pretty quick. Then you're out.
Now, is there a delay between casting something and it starting to recharge? Is there a delay, or is it just constantly going?
Oh, man, I don't know. It's been almost a year since I've played it last.
Good question. No idea.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
when you
remember.
were
You know, in
so
a
with
couple.
Joe with the Demon Hunter, when their resource, was it just kind of constantly going up, or if you cast a bunch of stuff, would it like go down, 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 pause for a second or two, and then start recharging?
It could have gone either way. I'm pretty sure it was constant though.
Okay.
But there were a few times where I was like, "Oh crap, I'm out. I guess I should take a breather for a second and wait for it to regen." But I don't
Feel like
think
there
there was
was
a
a
pause.
delay with the wizard
But I
one.
don't know. Don't know. So that answers that one. Yeah, let's move on here.
Yeah.
Next bit of community feedback comes from Doomscream. Oh, well, it's not community feedback, but he's been compiling an insane list of stuff for us, screenshots, interviews, video interviews, etc. And we'll toss some links up in the show notes, either on YouTube or the blog, so look for those. Next bit comes from Farnham on the blog. What random events did you come across in the beta? I guess this one's for me. I didn't come across too many random events. Actually, I don't think I came across at all, really. I think the beta build we were playing was very limited in terms of like storyline and random events and whatnot, because they kind of want to save those for release. There was an event where we run across some like I don't know, possessed townsman in Adria. Is that the witch? Yeah, Adria's cellar. He like pops out of the ground and you're like, oh no, this guy, but you don't really know who he is because they took his story elements out for the beta. So yeah, not too many random events. Next,
I ran into Jason Voorhees chasing a couple teenagers through the woods.
Yep.
When I played the beta.
Next bit comes from PDP Syndrome on the blog. Has Blizzard said anything about how much playtime the first run through of the game? I think
Like in hours?
they were aiming for the same amount of playtime as Diablo 2, but right now they're somewhere around double that, which I'm happy with, because I want longer play.
That's like, what is that? That's got to be close to like 80 hours. If they're around double.
And that, I don't know if they're gauging that off seasoned veteran play or new play. Like the first time you play through, how long it's going to take you versus I've done everything here, you know? Because that's subjective too. You could be one of those players that wants to hear what everybody has to say, talk to every person, or you could be one of those people who just likes to blow through all the content as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Single player first playthrough. Sorry, go on.
So I think it comes down to scale, how much more content they have available. And I think with all the extra characters, the random side missions, the random quests, the random characters you come across, it really comes down to what type of player you are, how quickly you want to blow through everything, and all that jazz. So it's really something you have to gauge when it comes out. But in my opinion, it's going to be a lot longer than Diablo 2. Much more content. And a fourth difficulty to boot.
Fourth difficulty.
Inferno!
Inferno! Diablo Inferno.
Nice.
Next bit we got comes from ... Oh, and this may promote some debate, it may not. It comes from the blog. So what is each the World Stone Keep's crew member stance on the ongoing always online debate? As you know, and if you don't know, Diablo 3 will require an always-on internet connection, and some people are for it, some people are strongly against it, some people don't care. What do you guys think? What's your opinions?
Well, I never played single player ever. To me, Diablo is a co-op game. So if I was to ever play it, I would be playing it co-op. So like, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of on the side that mentality that Blizzard already had. Like Blizzard came out with, and this was just from like my years back. If I was ever in a situation where I didn't have internet, I wouldn't even think about playing Diablo. I wouldn't be like, oh man, I wish Diablo had a single player, because Diablo 2 did. I would play a game that was designed for single player, like Dragon Age, right? Like, I don't know, that's just how I've always been. So like, I'm for it because it also increases, security, and the game will be better that way, because even if I was in a situation where it did have single player, I probably wouldn't be playing it if I didn't have internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Jordan, Dan?
As far as I'm concerned, it is kind of a catch-22 to some degree. I'm certainly in support of their current method because, again, it's always been a more multiplayer game to me. I think it's a shame if the internet goes out. I'm going to be without Diablo 3 for however long. I mean, that's a shame, but
Story of my life.
That does suck.
Such shitty internet.
Yeah. But that aside, it won't overly affect me at all. I know that there are those out there who, even on the forums, have kind of really been pushing to have the decision reversed, and I can appreciate that because they're in a different position than I am.
Right.
But I would imagine for the majority of us, it probably won't overly affect us that much in any sort of negative way. And if it helps to get rid of bots and spamming and everything else that are security issues, then yeah, I think it's a good choice.
I was really hoping that they would have gone with the StarCraft 2 model. I'll be honest. I have no problem with the principal game being an always online model, but I am disappointed at the complete lack of offline options. If only because while I was in Australia, I learned very well what it's like to suddenly not have internet for a couple days at a time and have a game that you want to be playing.
Yeah.
It's you're on your laptop. If I'm at home and my net goes out, then it's like, oh crap, well, this kind of sucks, but I've got my PlayStation, I've got other games, I've got stuff to do. But when you're traveling, or just if you've got really spotty internet, then I do think it's unfortunate that there is no offline option at all. I was hoping it would be the StarCraft 2 model where like kind of this out of the way down in the bottom right hand corner, like, oh well, here's the not secret but not obvious offline mode, and it comes up with a big warning saying, warning, these characters that you make in offline won't be available for any multiplayer period stop end. You can't earn achievements.
Right.
Your progress will not be tracked. It's just, this is isolated, but you can still play the game.
Yep.
See, I don't know. Like this whole summer, I've been dealing with spotty and crappy internet, and there's definitely games I'd love to play, like StarCraft 2 or whatever. But like, even having the opportunity to play StarCraft 2 offline, it doesn't appeal to me because especially with Diablo 3, I have a character. Why would I want to play offline another character and just waste my time kicking around making this stupid offline character when I have an online character that would be much better suited?
Right.
I'd rather play, I don't know, like Roller Coaster Tycoon or something.
True, that's actually what I did. I played Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
How was that game?
It's a fun little game.
It was a couple of bucks on GOG.com, so I was like, yeah, why not?
But I still and I understand that, and certainly it becomes the kind of thing where you spend a couple hours dicking around on a new character, and then you go, oh well, this has been a great way to kind of kill the time that my internet's been down, but is it really worth investing much more into this because it's not going to carry back over into online?
Right.
But it's just a nice move to have it there.
Right, nice option.
Especially if it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be spending a week out at the lake, and sure, the character won't get carried over, but
I still get my game
I am
fix.
going to have the time to invest a decent amount into this character or a couple characters. Here's a great time to sort of play around and experiment with low level builds,
right.
And stuff like that. I'm a little disappointed that there is no offline option.
Yeah, I kind of agree. When I first played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, I didn't have internet. And so I was playing single player all the time with Diablo 2. And then when I played Diablo 2 online, when I got an internet connection, it was a totally different experience. So much better and so much more fun. And I do believe Diablo is a franchise that's meant to be played multiplayer and with other people, but I also do understand the desire for people to want to play it single player. And there were times when, I'd be playing online and then my internet would drop for however long, and I join too many games and leave them too fast with Blizzard's new awesome bot system. I'd get kicked off Battle.net for a while.
Yeah.
And so I'd just jump on one of my single-player characters because, I still wanted to play Diablo 3. I still wanted to be in that world and play through the storyline. That's what I wanted to spend my time doing. And so I just jump on one of my single-player characters. And I do agree. It kind of sucks that I won't have that option if my internet drops now to play offline. But I don't know. I don't see it being too big of an issue for me. I'll deal with it.
Internet's gone. I guess I'm back to playing Minecraft for a while.
Maybe I'll do that load of laundry I've been putting off.
Maybe. The one thing I do sympathize with, though, is the people who just don't have internet at all. Like
that really sucks.
That I feel for them. The idea that they want to play Diablo 3 but they just can't at all. Like they play is single player games because they just don't really have it. That sucks.
Yeah.
I don't like that. The idea that they can't enjoy the game at all is very upsetting.
Right.
I agree 100%.
But that's just because I want Diablo 3 so bad. The thought of people not being allowed to play it so I can own them and take all their stuff from them. It's very upsetting.
Oh, man. So yeah, there's our thoughts and feelings on it. Let's move on. Tom, blog, guys, just to let you know, the fire lava that pops up during the video isn't from a skill, it's a champion rare monster called Molten. The monster creates pools of lava around it when it attacks as well. So that little bit of lava that popped up around, I believe, was the wizard's feet. And we're like, what are those pools of lava? It was a mob doing it, called Molten.
Yeah.
Nifty.
Was the mob called Molten or the spell called Molten?
It was the...
It's a mob affix.
Right, yeah. So
molten.
Like
skeleton.
lightning enchanted.
Yeah.
So it'll be molten enchanted.
You know what it puts me in mind of, and we
I
haven't
like that.
seen this in a long time? The Diablo 1 acid spitters.
Oh, those little dogs.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Because when they would fire at you, they would periodically leave pools of acid for you to stand in,
Yep.
or whenever they died, they would leave a pool.
Yep.
So
those were cool.
Yeah, I really like those.
I like the way you said that. They would leave a pool of acid for you to stand in, as if it's like a gift for you. Here you go, please stand in.
This is for you.
I brought you acid. Do you like the acid?
Have some more.
It made the coolest death sound effect too.
It wasn't for you to avoid standing in it. No, it's just...
Why do you never stand in the acid I bring you?
Oh, it just depended on how many healing potions he had at the time.
Last bit of community feedback we got is a question. Comes from Ultima through an email. What do you guys think of the future expansions in terms of what storyline extra content Blizzard may provide? Preemptive, I know. Assuming you actually defeat Diablo in the main game, do you think it may lead into new characters or dangers that will propel the series to continue beyond Diablo 3? Or do you think that this will then perhaps be the final Diablo game? If you mention a Diablo MMO, I will kill someone.
It's kind of a tricky question because on the one hand, we do already know that it will technically end the series. I mean, Diablo games are basically done. However, they also said that it is still open, so, a world of Sanctuary is possible. It just depends on if they decide the storytelling elements are possible to continue in some format. So, really, I don't know what to make of it. I really haven't thought that far ahead, to be quite honest.
I think the first expansion pack will build up with another character, possibly from the High Heavens, who is, not necessarily more dangerous than Diablo, but certainly as present a threat. And then the second expansion pack will end with the Overmind crashing into Sanctuary, and we find out that it was Char all along.
Oh man, Diablo is a prequel to StarCraft. It
Wow,
Yep.
makes
you
sense.
just blew
And
my
then
mind.
the third expansion pack will be set 10,000 years in the future when trolls evolve from the Sunwell and we find out that StarCraft is in
Who,
fact a prequel to World of Warcraft.
who would have thought that StarCraft was before Warcraft?
Yeah.
Wow, you just
And
my
That
minds
is an
will
M.
be
Night
blown.
Shyamalan twist.
Hey, you're missing a part. The main character of said story, who is a good guy, will turn evil.
Oh right, oh obviously.
And
Duh.
then you'll slip through a portal and you'll spend the last half of the second expansion pack as Kyle Blackthorn
Blackthorn.
fighting the three dwarves,
The Lost
The
Vikings,
Lost
yeah.
Vikings.
The Lost Vikings.
The
In your
Hogs
Rock'em
Fold.
Racer car or whatever it is.
Rock and roll racing.
Yeah, your rock and roll racing car.
They don't even
But on a
science
serious
that.
note, I have
Just
no
throw
idea.
it in.
No clue, none at all.
You just stumble across these ancient cars. Play rock and roll and race.
I know the question was so long that maybe he was hoping for like a real discussion, but I have nothing. There will be a couple of expansions. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended the franchise because it really sounds like Blizzard wants to move on to new things, like with Titan and everything.
Right.
So I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah,
If
aside
I
from
mean,
just
if Diablo franchise ends, I would like for them to continue making action role-playing games. That would be nice, but I have no idea.
aside from general like literary observations, you don't raise the stakes by lowering them kind of deal. You have the whoever is going to be the main villain of the expansion packs or each individual one needs to be a legitimate threat in and of themselves, but at the same time they have to avoid Dragon Ball syndrome where suddenly
Amen to
it's like
that.
Super Saiyan Diablo. Uh, so how are they
Yeah.
going to handle that while still having the core game be uh, unified? There's a bunch of ways. I trust that they'll not completely screw it up.
Right.
But as for what that'll be, I don't know.
I mean, I could go into a lot of concepts because the lore actually does leave it open to a lot of those possibilities, but uh, again, it would just be very much so wild conjecture at this point.
Yep. I have no speculation to throw out there before the game is released because apparently the trailer they played for us, they were alluding that angels and demons will be present in the game, and a lot of them. So they have a number of ways they can go with expansions, in my mind. And if you do kill Diablo, well, I think you do kill Diablo in the end game. There's still, what are the other two, Belial and Osmodan for
That's
expansions.
right.
Or they could throw in some angels to fight up there as bosses. So I really don't know. It's my
Or
stance.
maybe you don't even kill Diablo in this first one. Maybe it's like Belial, and then the second one's Osmodan, and then the final one is actually Diablo.
Could very well be. I think I read somewhere that it was confirmed that Diablo is the end boss for Diablo 3, but
Yeah, I think I
they
did
didn't
too.
say Diablo 3 vanilla or expansions, so it could go either.
I
Well,
tell you what's really kind of cool about this, though. Just wrap your minds around this for a moment. In Diablo 2, you got through the game, you beat Diablo, right? And he was hard. Then they came out with expansion, and then Bale's kind of the top dog of the game from a progressive standpoint, right?
Right.
In Diablo 3, none of them will actually be top dog in Inferno mode.
Inferno!
Everything will be equalized. So,
Well, I think they said 61 was the base, so there'll be no monsters
yeah,
below that, but there could be
yeah.
bosses that are like, I don't know, 65 or something like that.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if they were 65 and there's no motivation to go anywhere over anywhere else, then they'd all be 65. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The entire
they
purpose was to make it a flat, straight line.
they said that there's a possibility, like there will probably be a very gentle curve just because the monsters and bosses later in the game are more complex than the early game. but they're going to try and keep it as flat as possible.
Oh, okay.
Well,
What's that point?
no. Well, the flat line was mostly for the difficulty curve, as they wanted it all to be, around difficulty, but like bosses can still be a higher level for like, so that they resist your spells or whatever, they take less damage.
Oh yeah, but it won't be
for
like
item.
well,
It was the
last
flat line
boss.
was for items mostly.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be like go farm the last boss because he's gonna drop better loot than the mobs in Act 1, Zone 1, whatever.
Well, and at the same time, it's not like the last boss is going to be level 67 while the first boss is 63.
Right. It would make sense even from a farming standpoint, because then you would still be motivated to go after the 63 guy.
Right. You farm the easier one.
Yeah, because if he drops the same loot, you'd get the that makes sense for sure.
Interested to see what ideas they have for more endgame content that they're going to release later.
Just an interesting thought. I kind of wonder especially how this will all play in once they start releasing expansions and adding content to the game.
Right. They'll figure it out somehow. But that's all we got for the show this week. Look for the new forum sometime soon, new community site, and beta in September, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of it. As for now, do we have anything else, gentlemen, or is that it?
Oh, I think that's all.
Alrighty.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's time to say goodbye.
Do it.
Say goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, everyone.
Farewell, Loyal 8.
Peace.
We'll see you all next time on the World Stone Keep.